My name is Adiola. Most people call me Addie. Thank you so much for joining the chat today. It's another Friday. Yes, it's a beautiful Friday again today. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you everyone for the love and support. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the love on my last video, on the reaction video. It was so nice to see everyone trying out the questions. Yeah, thank you everybody. Thank you to everyone who messaged me, everyone who dropped a comment. I really do appreciate your support. Thank you very much. I will try to bring another reaction video soon. Thank you so much for your support on that one. As I say, my chats are usually about savings, budgeting, and everything in between. So today I have brought to you an interesting chat. I thought I would kind of chat to you about banking terms, just everyday simple banking terms. I've got about 15 on my list, or a little bit more than 15. Just bring that to you today. A lot of people will know what these terms are. A lot of these terms people are familiar with it, but some people don't know what the terms are, and it's just I just thought that we would educate ourselves really on these terms. It's a lovely day today. The sun is beaming really nicely, and it's possibly about to rain as well, but anyway, it's a lovely day. Let's get on with it then. Thank you so much. So I've got the banking terms on my phone, so I will be looking at my phone from time to time, and I will be talking to you as well. Some of these banking terms, or a lot of these banking terms, will be quite relatable to UK banking, but some of them will be relatable to international banking as well. So yes, so let's get straight into it. The first term I have on my list is ATM. Everyone knows what an ATM is. In some countries people will call it a cash machine. Is where you have access. An ATM actually is where you have access to counter service, cash service 24/7. Really, that's what an ATM is, and it could be called a cash machine as well. The next thing on my list is automated credit transfer. This is direct payment made into your account from another account. These payments are mostly within UK bank accounts. So this is direct payment made into your account from another bank account. That's an automated credit or an automated bank transfer. That's what that's called. The next one is BACS. BACS stands for Bankers Automated Clearing Services. Bankers Automated Clearing Services. This is the payment this is the kind of service or the process that employers will use normally to pay wages. This is different to a standing order and a direct debit. Really, this will be used to pay wages most of the time, and it's different to a faster payment that you can send yourself. Really, this will show that's coming from an organization, and most employers would actually use you. The next thing on my list is CHAPS. So that's CHAPS. So CHAPS. CHAPS, a few years ago, CHAPS used to be the only way that you could transfer money between UK bank accounts. I remember that when I first started working in the banking industry, that's what we would use, and this payment would take about 2 working days, literally, from one bank account to another. It was actually faster to actually withdraw the money and go and pay over at the other bank, as opposed to doing a CHAPS then. But these days we've got something called FPI, which is a faster payment. Really, it's a payment. Literally, this is what everyone does now. It's a payment between bank accounts. You can do it online, you can do it on the telephone at the branch, and it takes literally within seconds to get into the other bank account, to get into another UK bank account. Well, it could still take up to 2 working days, but it will literally take seconds. Some of them, a handful, just takes about 2 working days. But CHAPS, I remember that CHAPS never used to be straight away. They will take 2 working days. CHAPS, really, it means clearinghouse automated payments. So there is a back office system that's used for CHAPS. There's a system between they use a system between the 2 banks to actually process CHAPS. I think that's why it would usually take longer then. So the next thing is checks, CHQ. Most younger people would not be familiar with checks anymore, but believe it or not, checks are still available. You can still get a checkbook on your bank account. I have one, although I can't remember the last time I used the bomb. I suppose there's some payments that you might want to use a check for, but banks are gradually phasing out checks now. It's not a very common thing. Years ago, it used to be one of the ways that you can give send a payment to somebody, but most people are not using it anymore these days. It's hard to come by a check now, really, but there are still checks about, really. The next thing on my list is CSH, simply cash. That's what that is. The next thing is CR, credit. So this is when there's a credit payment to your account. It could be a refund or somebody's credited your account. Yes, if it's not a bank transfer, it's just a credit to your account. Then the next thing I've got on my list is a debit card. A debit card is a card given to you by your bank, and it helps you to access your bank account. A cash card also can be given to you by your bank account to help you access your bank account. The difference between a cash card and a debit card is a cash card doesn't have a chip in it. A debit card has a chip in it, so a debit card can be used at point of purchase. A cash card cannot. A cash card can only be used at ATMs. So that's the difference between both things. Some accounts actually only come with a cash card. Some accounts come with both a cash card, or either a cash card or a debit card. So yes. So the key difference is that the debit card has a chip in it and the cash card doesn't have a chip in it. I know that a lot of maybe American accounts actually would be cash card. This was years ago. I might be wrong, and please correct me if I'm wrong. But I think years ago American cards would always mostly just be a cash card type of thing. Yeah. But anyway. The next thing on my list is direct debit. So direct debit, it's instructions given to your bank account to make a payment to an organization. So instructions given to your bank account to make a payment to an organization. Most people are familiar with direct debits because this is how we mostly pay bills, pay organizations bills in the UK. But we've got something that's called a standing order. STO, a standing order. STO. A standing order is actually set up by yourself, a payment to pay something, to pay some bills as well, but it's set up by yourself and it can be cancelled by yourself. On the other hand, a standing order, you can only sign a mandate for a standing order. You cannot really set it up. An organization will send you details, you would sign it, and the organization will send it back to your bank to present it on your bank account, to put it on your bank account. So on a direct debit, you don't have a lot of control on a direct debit. Even if you cancel a direct debit, the organization might still be able to charge you because you signed a mandate to them. But with standing orders, really, because you have set it up yourself for a fixed or a regular payment to go out at certain times, you can cancel it whenever you want and it will be cancelled. With direct debits, even if you cancel it, they might still be able to ask for the payment on the direct debit. And it will be interesting to mention here that there is another type of payment for paying bills, which is like an automated, it's not a card payment, really. Most organizations that are not UK based, we use this payment to actually we use this payment to actually take their payments. We use this type of payment to take their payment from their customers. It's where they ask for the long number across your debit card and the security code at the back. So they now set it up as a monthly card payment, so it comes out of your card like a card payment, but it comes out every month. This is also a very tricky way to make payments, because most times if you have contacted them to cancel the payment doesn't really get cancelled. The bank cannot cancel this payment for sure because it's a card payment. The only people that can cancel this payment are the organizations that have actually set it up. And most times when you contact them, some of them, if they feel that you still owe them money, do not cancel it. Some of them, due to an error or the other, they forget to cancel it. The only way to cancel this payment, really, as I remember, is to cancel that card and get a new card sent out, because the only way to stop that payment from going out is that long card number. As long as it doesn't exist anymore, that payment will stop going out. But as long as it exists, the long card number, the payment will still be going out. So for card automated card payments are very tricky. Where you can, it's much advisable to use a direct debit or a standing order. A standing order preferably, but some organizations will not allow you to do a standing order. A standing order is much preferred because you have full control over the standing order. Really, you can set it up, amend it, cancel, and do a lot of things with a standing order. So that's much preferable. So when you're paying a bill the next time, just check if they can let you do that. That's just an easier way of doing things, really. Let's move on quickly to the next one, which is ERTF. So this is exchange rate transaction fees. You would only see this on your bank account if you have done a transaction abroad. If you've gone abroad and you've done a transaction, so with your ATM, at the ATM, if you've done a transaction at the ATM or use the debit card abroad, you will see this. So this is just the fees that they charge for the transaction that you have done abroad. Next thing on my list is an IBAN. So an IBAN is IBAN. IBAN is an international banking account number. This comes hand in hand a SWIFT code. So there is the IBAN number and a SWIFT code. They both come hand in hand. So as a person, as you would have an account number and a SWIFT code, banks all over the world, is a worldwide thing, really. All banks in the world have an IBAN number and a SWIFT code. This would help you. This is very essential if you're making any international payments. You would need the IBAN number of that bank and the SWIFT code to make that payment. This is a clearing process that banks use actually to clear payments internationally. So if you're paying any bank that's not in the country you live in, you will need the IBAN number and the SWIFT code. So it's pretty much like it's an account number and a SWIFT code, but it belongs to a bank. That's what it is, really. And IBAN number is international banking account number. I will tell you what a SWIFT code is in a minute. It's a little bit further down my list, really. The next thing I've got is INT, so that's interest paid on your bank account. If you've got a savings account, most times you get this tiny bit of interest coming on at the end of the month or at the end of the year, really. That's what INT is. ITL is international transfers. So where you've done an international transfer on your bank account, there's usually a charge to that. I cannot remember, but oh yes, now I remember. For CHAPS payment, a few years ago, it used to be a charge of £20 for CHAPS payment, just to send payment between UK bank accounts. It used to be a charge of £20. I don't know if they still do that now, but I doubt if anybody will be using CHAPS now, because you can do a faster payment now. So I doubt if anybody will be using it anyway. The next thing is an overdraft. So most people in the UK, again, will be familiar with what an overdraft is. An overdraft is a facility where the bank allows you to use money that you haven't got in the account. So they set a limit on the account. So you could, for instance, have between £100 to 5,000 or even more as an overdraft on the account. So even if you haven't actually got that money there, if you process a transaction for that amount, it will go through on your bank account. But bear in mind, even if you haven't got the money there, sometimes transactions will go through on the bank account and the bank will charge you. But a good thing is a lot of the bank accounts, mostly building societies now, they will charge you. They will let the transaction go through. They will charge you, but they give you up until maybe 2 p.m. to put the payment in, because sometimes it's not that people haven't got the money. They've just forgotten to put it into their bank account. So they'll give you up until 2 p.m. to put that payment in. So you're not charged, but the account effectively has gone into the minus, but you're not charged if you put it in before a certain time. But to be honest, you really have to check this with your bank. Really, most banks don't do it as well. So if you haven't got the money in the account, it's best, really, it's best to not make a payment. That's if you haven't got the money in your bank account, it's best not to make a payment on the account, really. And if you're sure that you haven't got an overdraft, it's best not to try the transaction then. So the next thing on my list is a PIN. Everybody knows what a PIN is. A PIN is what you use to actually use with your ATM. You use at the ATM, rather. You use a PIN at the ATM. You use it at the point of purchase for your debit card. Most people, again, might not be using their PINs a lot because there's a lot of contactless now. And I believe that you can do, is it £45? is it 5 times or 10 times? I can't really remember. It's a minimum transaction of £45, and you can do it. You can touch about 10 times. A lot of people actually do use their phones as well now, so most people might not even know what their PIN number is, but it's a good thing to always remember what your PIN number is, really. So the next thing was Swift code. The Swift code, I was going to tell you the meaning. The Swift means Society for Worldwide International Financial Telecommunication, and it's used to identify a bank for international banking purposes. As I've said, yeah, it's like a subcode, but it's basically for a bank, really, to identify a bank. That's what a Swift is. Yes. So the other thing I put on my list was Bitcoins. I don't know a lot about Bitcoins, but it will be interesting, to be honest. I've been planning to kind of do a bit more research on Bitcoins. They are the new things now, really, and I hear they're not affected by inflation, and they're not predicted by any currency, really. It will be interesting to know a little bit more about Bitcoins. I will try and look into that. I put on my list as well commercial banks. Commercial banks are all the high streets banks, all the banks that you see online. They are commercial banks, if they don't say building societies, because we've got building societies also in the UK. Building societies are owned by shareholders. Most people that bank with building societies will know how this works. You are essentially a part of the bank if you're with a building society, really, and you get to vote on different things on the members in the board of trustee. A lot of things there's a lot more involvement in what happens generally if you're with a building society. But with a bank, it's just a commercial bank. You're just a customer, and that's all, really. And also we've got credit unions in the UK. I am a huge fan of credit unions. I've been a member of a credit union for about 12 years and counting, really. I do like credit union. I like what they stand for. It's just a group of people, really. Mostly with credit unions, you can get credit at a reduced rate as well. You can save easily with credit unions. There's so many facilities that the banks will not make accessible to people that credit unions will do, really. But mostly for savings, really, I do like credit unions. The only reason being that access to that money is quite limited. So if I put money in a credit union, I don't tend to, this is me, I don't tend to remember the money, really, that's there. And after a few years, this has happened to me, really. After a few years, I do remember that, oh, I've got something somewhere, and then it's just a nice kind of surprise. Well, I'm quite a fan of credit unions. If you can, really, it's nice to join a credit union, really. It's nice to be part of something. Yeah. Anyway, the last thing on my list, the last but not the least, ombudsman. So the banking ombudsman is a really good one. We have it in the UK, and it's quite helpful when you have a dispute between yourself and your bank, really. They come in between. They're quite impartial, and they can help you resolve the dispute you have. They're also good because they help to keep banks on their toes, really. They help them do the right thing for their customers. I think most countries should have what's like a banking ombudsman as well. That's everything today, actually. That's all the terms today. Sorry about the lightning. As I said, if you're in the UK, you will know what we're going through. It could be bright one minute and dark the next minute, and that's what's happened today, really. But thank you so much for joining me, really. If there are any terms that you think I might have forgotten, can you just leave them in the comment below, or send a message to me. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram. It's at Addie's Chat, and I've actually started a Facebook account as well. So I think that's Addie's Chat, Addie. I'll leave both somewhere around. Please don't forget to follow me, like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend, really. And thank you so much, and I will see you all in the next one. You take care of yourself and have a great week then. Bye.